Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to Notes 2.1. So we're going to start off with some math vocabulary and the phrase common denominator. That means a shared multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So I'll give you some examples here. The fractions 3/4 and 1/4 have common denominators. The 4 are the same, right? However, the fractions 1/8 and 3/4 do not yet have common denominators, but they could have a common denominator if you multiplied the 4 by 2 and the numerator 3 by 2, you get 1/8 plus 6/8. Now you have your common denominators. Okay. Now, when adding and subtracting fractions, we need common denominators. You cannot just simply ignore that fact. There are a bunch of common errors that I see all the time. Common error number 1, ignoring common denoms or denominators, right? If you just have 1/5 and 5/6 and you just add up your numerator and denominator and you say, oh, that's 1 plus 5 is 6 and 5 plus 6 is 11. No, you cannot do this. You have to have common denominators. So in this case, 5 and 6, the common multiple or the least common multiple that they have in common is 30. I multiply 1/5 on top and bottom by 6 and 5/6 on top and bottom by 5. I get 6/30 over 25/30. Now I can add my numerator and leave my denominator alone. A second error, changing only the denominator. So 7/2 minus 3/4. Well, I say, okay, well, I gotta have common denominators. So I'll say, all right, multiply that, make that a denominator 4. So 7/4 minus 3/4. Oh, that equals 4/4, and that equals 1. No, you have to do both the numerator and the denominator. So if I'm changing the numerator by multiplying by 2, I have to multiply the numerator by 2. So I get 14/4 minus 3/4, which gives me 11/4. A third error that I see constantly is adding and subtracting the denominators. So this person actually understands, all right, I do have to multiply to get common denominators. Okay, so 6 and 4, that common multiple, okay, is 12, right? 6 times 2 is 12, 4 times 3 is 12. All right, so I get 2/12 plus 9/12, and then I add 2 plus 9, I get 11. Okay, you're still good. Okay, 12 plus 12 is 24. No, stop. You leave the denominator alone after you find common denominators, right? So you do all the correct work and then get this denominator wrong because you just leave it alone. It should be 11/12. And then a final error that I see all the time is when students try and cross-cancel. You cannot cross-cancel when you add and subtract, only when you multiply and divide. So you can't do any of this where you change the numerator and denominator by asking what can I divide them both by. Here it's just straight up 10 and 6. They have least common multiple of 30. So I multiply 3/10 by 3 and 5/6 by 5. I get 9/30 plus 25/30. 34/30 would be unacceptable. You have to simplify. You get 17/15. Now, for some of you, you may be thinking, well, this 30, how did you get that 30? Well, if you feel uncomfortable with the least common multiple, you can always just multiply by the opposite denominator. So in this case, I could just do times 10 times 10, and then times 6 times 6, and you're going to get 18/60 plus 50/60. And that's going to give you 68/60, which technically is right, but it's going to require you to simplify, which is a lot larger than 34/30. And in fact, when I simplify this time, I'm going to have to divide by 4, and that gives me my 17/15. So you can get the same answer if you don't multiply by the least common multiple, but it just takes a little bit more work. So for 1 through 4 and 13 through 16, we're just going to practice this. Basically, I'm telling you what the least common multiple is, so you're just multiplying that fraction by the multiple to get to the 12. So in this case, it would be times 4 times 4. 4 times 3 gives you 12. 1 times 3 So then 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is already 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 3 is already 12. And now we add this up. So 8 plus 3 is 11. And then we keep the denominator over 12. There's your answer. Let's do another one. 2. 5 times 3. 2 times 3. 3 times what gives you 15? 5. So we have 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 plus 5 is 11 over 15. Let's do this next one. 2 times 4 gives you 8. 3 times nothing. You could say 3 times 1 if you want to, but we don't really need to put that. So 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times nothing is 3. 4 plus 3, excuse me, is 7 over 8. Okay, and let's do another one. 3 times 2, excuse me, gives you 6. 2 times 3 gives you 6. So 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. And then you get 4 plus 3 is 7 over 6. You could say or 1 and 1/6, right? These rest I'll probably have you do on an end puzzle. That's the end of part 1.